I don't remember the last time I was this excited about football season. True story. Maybe the first year that I started this service, and that's been 26 years ago. Hello and welcome to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, the Fat Jack. The weekend is here. Football here? Almost. I mean, we are very, very close. It's the first part of August. Teams have reported. College teams are there. NFL teams are there. We're here. For a lot of people, it's been a quarter of a century doing the Fat Jack Sports Hour. I get texts all the time, emails saying, hey, I know football's close when the Fat Jack Sports Hour starts to come on. And this year it's on a week or so early with all the changes going on in college football. I felt like it was important to get out in front of this a little bit to give people information. If you're betting futures, you're going to Vegas for contests, whatever you're doing, I want to provide as much information as possible. Most importantly, getting you signed up to make some money this year. So without further ado, you're like, where's Brandon, Jack? We haven't brought Brandon in. Where's Brandon? Here he comes. Brandon from Louisville, Kentucky, my co-host for the show. Mr. Brandon Rush, you're what on the Fat Jack Sports Hour?
21. And it's amazing because I'm only 27. So that's how long it feels like I've been part of this thing. But yeah, it's
27 it's in your heart for sure.
Yeah. So. And in brain, some would say.
No, you're right. I'm the oldest 16-year-old in the world. I mean, people say how old are you? I say I'm like 27 with money. You know, I mean, it's that world, which is a bad combination because if I get mad or get a vendetta, then I'm able to throw cash at it that a normal person who's my age
couldn't or wouldn't. Right.
Yeah, they wouldn't. They would go above and take the high road. I still haven't found the high road at 54 years old. So, Fat Jack Sports Hour. I'm glad to have Brandon back. We're going to have another year. Gosh, it just seems like just the other day, Brandon, we were finishing up, for me, the Super Bowl, honestly. I mean, we go back to March Madness and all of that. We had a great year to start 2024. We ended last year great. Football was wonderful. We had the under in the Super Bowl, had Kansas City as an opinion, went on, did really well during basketball season, made a lot of money, but it doesn't seem that long. Maybe it is because it's a week or two earlier, but it seems like the seasons continue to shrink, or the off season, I should say, shrink and shrink as we get a little bit older.
Well, that, and you talk about now that we're offering baseball packages every day. So you're there grinding, sending out the emails, dealing with customers. We had the Euro Championships and the Copa America Championships was something new this year. So, I mean, you're right. It does seem like we just finished doing shows 3 weeks ago. But camps are open and we're here.
And you're right. That's a big part of it. We had not done, baseball I get from other guys. They send it to me. I send it along. We've had a lot more this year. It's been more daily stuff. In the past, it had been 3 or 4 days a week. This year, over 20 games for free heading into the fall. We average on a yearly basis about 50 games of profit for free over the baseball season. This year, we're about half that, maybe a little more than half that heading into the first part of August. So there's a very good chance we'll get there. A lot of times during the playoffs, we'll run off 15 or 20 games of profit. People who are only up 10 or 15 games after May, I always laugh when they have something stupid to say, which, by the way, I don't even get anymore. I don't get any of the comments that people give because they're not healthy. I'm here to make money for my clients. I'm here to make money for myself. I'm not here to listen to some $50 moron say something mean because he's only up 20 games for free in baseball as we head into June. But I am always interested by the guy who has something to say. They're impatient about the free profit they're making in the first part of the summer. When the whole we average about 50. We've said that for years, and you get the whole summer to make 50. So we're actually, as we entered the All-Star break here a couple of weeks ago, we were about halfway there. I mean, we were about where we typically are, just building profit kind of monthly as we went through. And again, that's absolutely free. It's still free if you go to fatjacksports.com right now and get signed up. The lowest rates left this year, not of the entire year, because if you sign up in January, you got a better rate. You sign up in February, March, April, you got a better rate for the year. But if you are planning on signing up for football or football or basketball, signing up today will get you the lowest rate left the entire year. So go to fatjacksports.com, new website. You'll see that. Easy, usable website where you can go, you click on, you get you set on a pin and a password. Brandon's video should be up there by now showing you kind of what to do. You go pick a package, enter your information, click send. You're going to get the pics. You're going to get the package. You're also going to get a link to set up a password. It doesn't have to be capital letters and asterisks and exclamation and all the BS. I hate those. I understand Russia's trying to steal all of our information. I don't think Russia's trying to steal this information. So I made them set if you want your password, I think it has to be 6 letters. So if you want it to be Jackass, then it can be Jackass. No caps. Capitalize it, don't capitalize it. Totally up to you. Don't care. And then once you have a password, you have a portal that you're able to go into and up to the date, real time, see your picks that are in there anytime you want. So you never have to email again. Hey, Jack, when the pick's coming out? If you didn't read the recommended betting guide, which, by the way, it's sent to you 2 or 3 different times. It's there on the website. Every day when you get your picks via email, it says, quick reminder, take a look at the recommended betting guide. It'll show you how we do lines when the picks come out, how we grade wins and losses, where the results are, how we bet football versus basketball versus baseball versus free plays versus preseason, which is here. All of that's laid out. But even if you don't know when you get your picks, you're able to go to your portal, enter Jackass or whatever your password is, and immediately they pop up there if you have old picks, new picks, or whatever. So a new website, not free, by the way. I'd pay for that. But I do think long-term it's going to help the clients get the information be more readily available, more at their disposal, more at their fingertips. And with some of the packages we have coming up, you talk about soccer. We added soccer, made over 20 games in 3 weeks in soccer. And by the way, you had a good Copa America and Euro run as well, right?
I did. Yeah. It was a little sketchy early, but went on a nice little run, had, I think, 3 different games where hit draw when it was plus 250 or more. So yeah, during Copa America and the European Championships, ended up 16 units myself. So that on top of your 20 and change was a nice little chunk for summer.
Not a bad summer, right? 3-week run, you're making 20 plus and another 15 or so. It's 35 games of profit, about $100, $3,500 in your pocket. So there's money to be made in the summer. We're offering a soccer package this fall as well. My soccer guys, what's funny? Early in those tournaments, I spend a lot of time on soccer. We've got to get to SEC. Trust me, nobody wants to hear soccer. But my guys were really good at recognizing early and pointing out that the Copa America fields were smaller than the Euro fields, or that international players are used to playing on because they're being played in American stadiums. They're playing at Dolphin Stadium and all around MetLife Stadium up in New York. Those stadiums aren't big enough to hold the regulation side soccer. I don't know how they're going to do this during the World Cup, but I know that for this event, they're basically the fields they're playing on were the equivalent of 13U fields, and that condensed all of the players on top of it. Imagine playing basketball on a court that's condensed. Soccer is all about finding open spaces. So I knew defense, it was going to be physical teams. I didn't know. They knew. Physical teams were going to do better, going to be harder to score goals, and mainly the mental side of it for these guys that flop around on the ground every time they get kicked. Stretchers coming out, everybody's be hauling. Don't even get me started on the things I don't like about soccer. But what I do like is the profit we made. So they were able to recognize that early, get us into some profit early in soccer. So we never even had to earn the money. There is, as I said, a package coming up for the Premier and the Champions League this fall. Sign up now. It's less than $100 a week. And what that does get you, Brandon, and we're going to talk football right after this, but what it does get you, those games are in the morning. They're overseas. So they're going to be Wednesday mornings mainly and weekend mornings, so much earlier than the football starts. So I think when the NFL goes to London, a lot of times we're into profit on Sundays before you're ready for breakfast. Soccer's going to be that. We're going to be into profit early before football even starts. So good time. Go to fatjacksports.com. Good thing about the package areas, you can put in the sport that you're interested in, and it will pull out just those packages in that sport. So if you just want football, you'll be able to just see football packages. Very easy to read, very easy to sign up for. Always remember, longer packages save you money. Go to fatjacksports.com today and get signed up. All right. There are people out there right now driving off the road for sure because they're like,
we're talking about websites and soccer.
Who is this idiot? That's what they're saying. Who is this idiot? There's people right now, never heard me before, never heard us before, don't care about soccer, don't care about websites. They don't know what the hell I'm doing. They know they need to get some football because the SEC is in Oklahoma. The Big 12 landscape has totally changed. Brandon, initial thoughts on where we are in college football. This is going to be primarily a college football preview show. So we're going to talk lines, figure out where the SEC is, give out some free winners for the season. Also in the Big 12, primarily those two conferences, because frankly, I know a lot of people listening are interested in that. If you're a college football fan, that's where you start. But besides that, where are your thoughts? What do you think about the landscape? You don't have to round way up. It's changed. The Pac-12 is
Mhm.
gone.
Mhm.
So, what are your thoughts on the new landscape of college football?
I honestly think this is a stopgap. We are inching closer to 2 26 or 32 team conferences. You're going to have the SEC, you're going to have the Big 26, and those are going to be your top level of college football within probably 5 years. So right now it's awkward, it's weird, which then presents opportunities to make money because people are thinking, oh, well, this is what it is now. No, this is an ever changing thing, and I know we're going to be on top of it.
Yeah, I think we're good. I'm with you, and I think we're going to look back in 20 years if I'm still here, God willing, and I hope I will be. I'm only 54. Um, but I think we're going to look back and we're going to say there was a period in there 5 or 6 years that all hell broke loose,
Mhm.
and that it was the Wild West. I mean, kids are getting paid outrageous amounts of money when they're literally 17 years old, coming out of high school. People are offering them money. They're breaching contracts. So the NIL deal absolutely needs to be refined and refurbished and more controlled. It's Wild West as far as that goes. I think that somebody, I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody will get that under control. And then, as you said, we're in a transitional from a million different conferences, with most of them, frankly, playing for little to nothing, into evolving into a place where you have 4 or 5, maybe 6, that's probably high, 4 or 5 conferences that have a lot of teams, but we're getting multiple teams into the tournaments, into the end. You can also think basketball. You have the NCAA tournament, the NIT tournament. There's a world where you go that way, and so you
Mhm.
have Premier Champions League. We're back on soccer, but you have a top tier champion. You have a bottom tier champion. You have tournaments at the end where people are playing meaningful games at the end of the year on some level, more than just what we've been to this point in our lifetime, where you played no meaningful games at the end, just bowl games for a ring and some free swag, all the way to where we are now with a limited, 12-team playoff, that we're going to have one champion and then everybody else is kind of left out. And you kind of know half of those teams already.
Right.
I mean, Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, probably Texas, maybe Texas or a team like that. But there's 3 or 4 teams at least that, providing they don't just totally fall on their what, they're going to be in the top 12. So you're only all these other teams out there playing for 6 to 8 spots. So it's not a perfect system for sure, but certainly heading the right way, right?
Well, it's better than what we've had. We've seen the change over the last 20 years in doing the show. That we went from the BCS to finally getting a 4-team playoff, and now that we're going from that to a 12-team playoff with home playoff games, I think is phenomenal. And like I said, it's not the finished product, but we're definitely trending in the right direction.
How fun is December and January going to be?
Oh my God, it's going
I
to be
mean,
amazing.
it's always
Absolutely
been
amazing.
profitable. All right,
Yes.
that's been great because we've made so much money betting on sports, and certainly football has been the bread and butter for years. Always been profitable in December. Bowl analysis sheets been profitable. The bowl games have been primarily very productive, very profitable over the years. But I've said this from day one: when you have meaningful games, the problem with the bowl games was, and kind of still is, and we've been able to decipher through that. But the problem is with the bowl games is that when you're playing games that aren't meaningful, so you're playing in the tortilla whatever bowl in the Bahamas. Nobody cares. Some teams care, some teams don't. Fans don't. They do. So you have to. The hardest thing to factor, besides turnovers and injuries in games, when you're talking about winning money betting on sports, the hardest thing to factor in is effort. Is who cares and who doesn't. It doesn't mean
Motivation.
everybody. Motivation. It doesn't mean everybody doesn't care, but it's a little bit like the NBA. NBA's hard because you'll have guys that just take nights off. They don't shoot it well. They don't play as good a defense. Things
Both
happen.
literally and figuratively. You
Exactly.
can wake up on a game day, NBA game day, and then next thing you know, 6 hours before tip off, oh, our starting center is just on load management. So how does that change your handicapping and a mindset in a college football landscape or a football landscape to be like, yeah, I woke up with I got a sore kidney this morning or something.
Yeah, my girlfriend broke up and they don't want to play tonight. Those things
Right.
happen. So the good news is we'll have more meaningful games in December and in January. It's going to be an incredible football season. Get signed up today. Go to fatjacksports.com. Place your text to yourself, or their email to you. You get them out of the personal portal. If you're betting on sports, if you're going to Kansas or you're going to Louisiana or you're going to New Mexico, we're going to spend time talking about the landscape of sports gambling in Oklahoma, which if it's a garden, it's got piles of crap and it's basically dead. All right. Talk about it. Talk about it August, summer.
Concrete, rebar, and dog poop.
Yeah, we're not eating a lot out of that garden, all right, because that's where we are right now. Is it going to change? Yeah, it's going to change. Is it going to change right now? No. Stay healthy, people. You're going to get sports gambling in Oklahoma at some point, but it is not coming until Kevin is out of office, unfortunately. So you need to hold on to the next governor. Then hopefully, if you would have told me, we talk about the evolution of sports. If you'd have told me back before anybody except Nevada had sports gambling that Oklahoma would be there's 38 states, I think, right now.
And DC. Yeah.
And 38 states in DC that have sports gambling. If you'd have told me Oklahoma was going to be one of the last, 50 states, 12 states that wasn't going to have it, I would have told you there'd been a 12-team playoff before that. I mean, I would told you that Oklahoma would have been it before 12-team playoff happened. There have been so many things that have happened that I couldn't predict. And the one thing I can't predict is how we're still sitting in the middle of the country, surrounded by states, except Texas, that is almost like another country, and don't have sports gambling. Oklahoma makes no sense to me at all, other than the way the relationship played out between the governor and the tribe. So hopefully that will change. Hopefully the people in Oklahoma, I get emails all the time. People like, why are we getting sports game in Oklahoma? Well, not today. So if you're driving to Kansas, Kansas has it. Missouri's going to get it. Arkansas has it. New Mexico has it. They're expanding sports gambling in those states. So, and I have lots of clients that live in northern Oklahoma will drive up to Kansas every single weekend. They make a lot of money during football season simply doing that. You get the picks early. They're in your portal. You drive up, place the bets, go home, go to your kid's soccer game or whatever the heck you're doing, and enjoy watching your balance grow, make money, and then you go up there and pick it up whenever you want. So, or you don't. You just wire it into your account. That's easy to do as well. Let's look at the national championship picture right now, Brandon, as we're heading into summer. Camps are reported. College teams are there. Georgia 3-1 to win the national title. Ohio State second favorite. Oregon third favorite. Texas 8.5 to 1. Their fourth pick. Alabama 15 to 1 with all the turnover. Nick Saban gone now. Ole Miss after Alabama. Brandon, new players. I mean, that's what we're looking at. Just off the top of your head, what do you think of that? No Oklahoma to that point. LSU after that. Penn State, Notre Dame, Florida State, Michigan, Tennessee, 30 to 1. The Oklahoma Sooners, and I know a lot of people are interested in this, 70 to 1 to win the national championship. How much money? This is my first question. The second question will be, what do you think of the odds before we get into the season? How much money is going to be spent from Oklahoma Sooners fans placing a $100 bet for their team to win the national title? You got a guess on that?
I would guesstimate upwards of 7 figures.
This is one of those years that if there was sports gambling, the first year they had sports gambling in the state of Illinois, the number one bet on futures bets, there were two. Number one were the Chicago Bears to win the Super Bowl, and the other one was Justin Fields to win the MVP.
I think the Bears won 4 games.
And Justin Fields, I don't think he finished the year. Yeah, they did absolutely nothing.
And he's no longer in Chicago, yeah. So.
Exactly. Huge fundraiser for the state of Illinois. Now, if you opened up in Kansas, didn't go as well because those people immediately jumped on the Chiefs, they jumped on Patrick Mahomes, and they lost that fundraiser. But this would be the year. If you're going to open a sports book in Oklahoma, this is the year because at 70 to 1, there's Sooner fans that, if they don't remember John Blake and going back to the days of 28 people in the stands and you could actually play a game if you just offer a hot dog or something, those days are long gone. This Oklahoma Sooner team with Brent Venables, 70 to 1, they're going to be worth a flyer to a lot of people heading to one of the many states that has sports gambling. So what are your thoughts on Oklahoma at 71 and more importantly, the top 10 or so teams? What jumps out at you?
The Ole Miss number seems very off considering what Ole Miss has been of late. I love Lane Kiffin as a play caller. As a recruiter, as a head coach, maybe not as much. I'm not overly impressed with the talent that they have. So of those, say, 10 teams that you mentioned, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Florida State, Notre Dame, Penn State, LSU, Alabama. One of these things is not like the other, and Ole Miss is that thing. I don't see them being in the running come now. They might make the playoff, but I don't think that they are a legit national championship contender, nor being the top 5 or top 6 in August.
Well, I think that's where the line setters would tell you that after you get by the initial teams that are going to have a lot of talent at the top, you start looking at conference. Who's going to get in the tournament?
Mm-hmm.
And once you're in, you take a flyer. You know what I
Sure,
mean? Especially
sure.
when you play a different brand of football. Ole Miss going to open it up more. Ole Miss to me is a lot like the Detroit Lions. I can't put the Detroit Lions over the hump because I don't trust their play calling. I love them during the regular season. They're going to pull out some wins. I don't trust Lane Kiffin when they're playing a team that's better than them to make enough correct decisions to win. And that's exactly, and this will not be a popular opinion this year. The Detroit Lions are a sexy team, sexy
Mm-hmm.
pick to make that jump and make the Super Bowl. I think when they play a team that they're equal to and lose in turnovers, or they're worse than, that play calling matters. We saw it last year. Going forward on fourth down, I don't think he's going to change that much. He's going to go with what got him there, which during the regular season will get you a couple more wins probably, and it might get you an upset over a team that's better than you, especially if you win turnovers, but it won't sustain you, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll look back at this show if Detroit wins a Super Bowl, and you'll say, well, you know what, that have been proven wrong. But I'm not sure that it sustains you against teams that are equal to you or better than you as you head deeper into January. So I put Ole Miss in that. I could definitely see them making the playoffs. I could see them winning a game or so, but they're going to be an underdog at least after the first game, no matter what, unless he's done some incredible recruiting and they've taken that next step. And at that point, one of those fourth down, one of those things that are Johnny Gambler probably catches up with him. So we're going to talk more about that, talk a lot about who's going to make the playoffs. We're going to look at the SEC also from a conference standpoint, because as everybody knows out there listening, the landscape of college football has changed both in conferences and, as we're seeing, kind of predicted powers in those conferences, as we have some of these old guard teams that are either, you're able to get it 20-1 or better. We didn't even talk about Penn State. They're 20-1. If they do what they've been doing, that'll be money thrown away. They've been good against bad teams, bad against good teams. But you go down to the Notre Dames, Florida States, Michigans after that, who have had some turnover, an exciting year of college football coming. So we're going to drill a little deeper into the conferences, get you a couple of free winners on some of these prop bets going forward.
This is Brandon Rush from the Fat Jack Sports Service. If you want to stay in touch with everything related to the Fat Jack, follow us on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it, we are there at Fat Jack Sports. You can also watch the Fat Jack Sports Hour on YouTube every week. Get free winners and tips on how to become a better sports bettor. Plus, see Jack's appearances on the nationally syndicated TV show Beat the Odds. Stay connected with the Fat Jack Sports Service at Fat Jack Sports on all the socials and on YouTube.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. And now here is our host, the man who's going to guide you through profit this college football season. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 2. Getting the season underway. A little bit early, still hot outside, but the teams have reported. If they've reported, we have preseason games going on. We play the preseason. I figured out a way to make money during the preseason. You can look at the results tab at fatjacksports.com and see. Scroll all the way to the bottom. That will show you basically how we've done in preseason over the last few years, each year. And you'll see we build profit during that. So similar to baseball profit and these other sports that don't cost you anything, preseason, there's an opportunity to make some money, not a lot. Don't bet a full amount, bet less. But getting signed up now saves you money versus waiting. Prices will go up the middle of August. They'll go up the 1st of September. Not to mention the money you're missing out on. If you want to add basketball, adding it now is about half price of what it'll be come middle of October, when a lot of you start thinking about basketball. So even if you're on a football-only package, add basketball now. It will save you money long-term. Go to fatjacksports.com. If you need to get a hold of us, there's a contact us button, but you shouldn't, because it's basically you can do everything right there on the website, get you in the system, and start adding discipline where you can start making money betting on sports. Before we turn away from national championship, Brandon, if you had to pick a team, who's going to win? Is it one of the old favorites at the top? So give me a favorite team, and then maybe a long shot to look at based on what we know so far.
I think Oregon is probably my team that I'm penciling right now in August to say, hey, this is the team that I'm interested in watching, because they're moving into an uncharted landscape. Yes, they are moving to a conference where they're playing potentially 3 time zones ahead of where their body clocks are. But at the same time, when those teams have to go west, they're going to be playing 3 time zones potentially past their prime. So I feel like what that coach has done up there, even though he's obviously had some miscues, that combination of talent, coaching, new schedules, new opponents, you're going to be facing teams who aren't seeing you year in, year out. You look at that schedule, there's teams on there, they haven't played since the 40s. So obviously advanced scouting does a lot, but until you know what that coach does in that situation year in, year out, great opportunity. A team that may be coming off the periphery a little bit. I honestly, I don't know. I very hard for me with all the movement that's gone on in college football, not only between the coaches, but also in the transfer portal, to figure out who's where. I don't know who that mid-level team or even that team past the top 10 or so is going to be.
I'm going to tell you.
That's why we're signed up to the Fat Jack Sports Service, right?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I would tell you this, Brandon, also. I don't remember the last time I was this excited about football season. True story. Maybe the first year that I started this service, and that's been 26 years ago, because the anticipation for different reasons. That was about, what is this? I know I can make money betting on sports. I know I have a good track record, but will people receive that, or do they care about that? All that.
And I'm sure at that time it was a lot of bubble guts situation where you're like, okay, we need this.
It just took me like 3, at that point it took me like 3 hours to do a show. Because I was horrible, and it took forever. So I'm 3 hours. I'm like, God, I just fly to Vegas or bet with people like I've been betting for years and not have to deal with this stuff. What am I doing? This is a lot of work. And so, yeah, it was a little different. But I will tell you, Brandon, I don't remember the last time I've been this excited. For a couple of reasons. We're going to make a ton of money because all the things you just said are the exact same things that the general public knows nothing about. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be playing catch up because I'm doing this all day long, every day. So getting information together and being out in front of the curve is basically what I do for a living. That's what I do. I'm not a dentist or a mechanic or a lawyer. I'm figuring out how to win. And there's so much more new information that the general public is going to be playing catch up. And exactly what you're talking about, teams that are going time zones away, opponents that they're not familiar with, the transfer portal, all those things. I got a team, though. When I start looking at teams for the national title when we're betting in preseason, we'll talk about the NFL next week, where we've been really, really good in picking a team that either is going to win the game or be in the game or be real relevant late and have long odds, which is the most important thing to me. I want a team. I'm not picking a favorite because I can't make money on a favorite late in the year. I don't care, honestly, if I'm wrong. I just need to be mostly right? I mean, that's the key. Get them in, if you're 20-1 or better, excuse me, and you can get a team in the playoff. Now, the NFL, they need to be able to win a wild card most of the time. But in college football, just picture ahead. If you can figure out which one of these teams at 20-1 or better just will get you in the playoff. 12 teams to 6, 6 teams to 4, 6 teams to 3, 12 to
12, 8, 4.
12, 8, 4, 2. 4 games. So if you find a team and just get them in, far be it they were a favorite or going to win, just get them in the tournament. You have got an opportunity to, at the very minimum, get out of that one bet. And who knows, maybe they make a run. They play second 2 or 3 times, similar to what I've done with Philadelphia last year, did with the
Ravens.
Who else was the other one? We had the Rams. Baltimore was the other one. Baltimore 22-1 or whatever. Last year, they played in the conference championship game or whatever. We ended up hedging out, making 5 times our money. So I've got that team. You have any guesses?
Is it west?
It's west of us, west of the middle.
Okay.
West of you.
I think I know who it is. Oh, west of me.
It's west of you. It's west of me.
If it's west of you, then okay, it's west of both of us.
Yeah, we got to go west.
Utah
is exactly right, Brandon. Very nice. Utah, 60-1, people. Give me the Utes. They got a bunch of 30-year-old white dudes for the most part who have 5 kids. They're playing for their lives out there. Yep. They're in a conference that, as you just said, a lot of newness. Going to play some teams that, that don't know them all that well. In a conference that lost their stars, lost Texas, so they're in a spot, and frankly, they're one of the favorites in the conference. So that's the type of team. That team is show up, business as usual. These other very few people, and they get their quarterback, by the way, who was on the bench the entire time last year. I
Yes.
think
Yeah,
he's
because he was
50
hurt.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cam Rising. Yeah.
Cam
He
Rising.
was started at Texas, I want to say 7 years ago. I think this is his 7th year of college football.
He's got 16 kids. He's got double ARP, all the memberships of retirement around the corner, and the dude's going to suit it up for the Utes. If he stays healthy, this is a difference maker at quarterback in a conference that, in theory, is going to be lower because you're missing the blue bloods.
The top two, yeah.
So, and I'm not positive, depending on how things roll out, you have to win the Big 12. I think you might get 2 out of there. We'll see. We'll see how things roll out. You may need to win it, but if you don't win it, second might get you in. And it's 60-1. How's that ticket looking? If you looked at, there's an opportunity, Brandon, to take some flyers with some of these teams. And if you just get one in, you can hedge out, and we'll walk them through that. I mean, I'm going to walk you through that. So if you're out there and you play a 60-1 and you're a client of mine for the season, I will open it up for emails before the playoffs start in college football and say, you got a team, I'll help you walk through. How much did you bet? What are the odds? Blah, blah, blah. So we're going to do a little bit more of that at certain times during the year. Not right now. I don't want to hear about that right now. Go to the recommended betting guide. But there will be a time when we'll be able to help people kind of hedge out of those things. So you don't need a team to win. You just need them to be relevant when they get in. And this year in particular, before anybody knows what's going to happen, nobody knows. Are we getting 5 teams out of the SEC and then they're going to sprinkle it in? Are we getting 4 and 3 and then 5? You see what I'm saying? Nobody really knows what the selection is going to be like. I mean, there's some of these conferences you go when you're in, but where are these extras coming from and how are they deciding? What are they thinking? We don't know. And I have a feeling they're going to want to keep it balanced as they can. They're not going to want to make it an SEC heavy tournament. These teams will have already played each other in a lot of cases. So they're going to be looking at LSU and looking at Tennessee and looking at some of these teams that maybe they don't win the SEC, but they have a case. And I think the common thing is right now people are saying, well, that conference is going to get 3 or 4 teams in. They might, but I don't think they're getting more than 4. And if they get more than 4, and let's say the Big Ten cannibalizes each other, they get
because
1
they
or 2.
do every year.
Right? There's not a great team, especially when you bring Michigan back a little bit. Penn State's been very predictable of being underachieving and losing games they're not supposed to, or losing to anybody that's good and has a pulse. So when you get in these situations, I think you're going to have some more cannibalization than people realize. And when they do that, there's going to open it up for a second team out of the Big 12 or a second ACC team or another at-large team that's undefeated. Appalachian State goes undefeated. They take a chance. So if you can find that team or two that's outside, that's opposite what most people are doing, they're trying to figure out an SEC team that they can get into the tournament. I think that might be the wrong way to go in year 1. Now, I may be proven wrong on this, but I think there's a way to pick some of these other teams, namely teams like a Utah, like a Louisville, like Virginia Tech. I mean, somebody that comes out of the ACC that they get a second team in, because you're not talking about 10-1 or 20-1. Louisville's 150-1. They don't have to do anything. If I get them in the tournament, they can go out and basically get COVID and not play. I don't care. I'm going to make a lot of money off that. So think about it that way. Let's look at the SEC and the Big 12. What are your thoughts, just generally speaking? We go into this world of new conferences. Oklahoma and Texas obviously go to the SEC with, I guess, a little fanfare. Texas, second choice to win the conference, but not the splash that I think a lot of Sooner fans would tell you are warranted, simply based on the fact that OU doesn't win 6 games a year. This team, under the 2 or 3 previous coaches, they win football games. They win. And yes, everybody understands the toughness of going into the SEC, but they're going to say, okay, you pick Oklahoma to be middle of the pack. They're 27-1. They're still recruiting well. They still have Brent Venables. What's up? So overall, what are your thoughts of the SEC?
I mean, obviously it's Georgia and everybody else, but the everybody else group is still better than a lot of conferences, second tier, so to speak. I'm very interested to see what Alabama can do without Nick Saban. Obviously, guys that he recruited are there. And the guy who took over took Washington to a national championship game. So I don't think they have quite the fall off, but I don't believe that they're going to be be able to at least approach what Georgia's been able to put together over the last few years. The teams that are in that second tier, when you look at, say, like an LSU, Tennessee, Missouri, and A&M, one of those teams is going to be, I think, the upset team. My heart won't let me do A&M just because I have hate in my heart. But Tennessee or LSU, I mean, you're talking about teams that are going to be at double digits, 10-1, 15-1 or better just to win the conference. They're going to throw a monkey wrench into somebody's plans. And it's going to be either them or a Missouri team, which has probably one of the best receivers in the country that is flying under the radar and could mess up the whole thing for somebody along the lines of a Texas or an Alabama.
So let's give some clarity to the conferences right now and why things are going the way they are. So to finish sixth, the sixth highest team in the Big 12 right now is Iowa State. All right, so Iowa State's the Big 12. You have Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Central Florida, Kansas, and then Iowa State. Those are your top 6 teams predicted preseason. First of all, before we do this, let me just touch on one thing you said. If you like teams like Missouri to win the conference, or you like teams like Missouri and you're going to take a flyer on them, do not bet one penny on Missouri or A&M, anybody that's long, and we're going to talk about some of those teams in a second, but do not bet one penny on them to win the SEC. That is bad money management. Bet on them to win the national championship. You're going to get much longer odds. We don't need them to win the national championship. To win the SEC, to cash your ticket, you have to win the SEC. All right? You can't, and you get down to the last game, it's very difficult to hedge that. Bet on that same team to win the national championship, and then you just get them in the tournament, and we'll be able to 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, whatever our money, because you're going to get great odds on them to win the national championship. But to my point, to the changes in the conferences, people need to kind of understand what's going on. So finish 6. Let's go 6. We'll go 6. Iowa State is 11-1 to finish to win the Big 12. They are the 6th favorite team. How low do you have to go in the SEC to find a team that's going to be an underdog to Iowa State on a neutral field right now? A&M, are they an underdog to Iowa State?
Lord, no.
Okay, well, they are picked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are picked to finish 6th of the SEC. Tennessee, they an underdog to Iowa State?
Nope.
Missouri right now, they an underdog to Iowa State?
I think you got to go all the way down to
Oklahoma?
say like maybe Florida,
Oklahoma, Auburn, Kentucky. We're getting closer. So my point, and Florida's next, then South Carolina. I could argue that by the time if those 2 teams played in week 1, maybe Iowa State's bound to pick them to a Florida because nobody knows what's happening. Probably around to pick them to South Carolina. They got to replace a lot of people. Arkansas. You feel comfortable laying points with Iowa State against Arkansas and everything they've had. We are down into the 15th, 16th, 12th, 15th. These are deep SEC teams before we can find a team. So when you're looking at the overall turn and you're offended by Oklahoma being an SEC 27-1 to win the national or win the SEC, and them picked 7, 8, 9th, as A&M 6, so 7, 8, 9th. They're finished 9th favorite to win the SEC. Apply that to where they came from. Put them with the new group. You're going to see that the SEC, the trouble that the Big 12 teams might have going into the SEC is a real thing, and it's not having to beat Georgia or Alabama or whoever's at the top. It's those other games when you're playing Kansas and you're playing Iowa State and you're playing, Oklahoma State, even if you're not Oklahoma, but you're in these other teams. When you're playing that Central Florida, those type teams, you have to beat a team like Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, South Carolina, Arkansas. Those teams are recruiting really well. So it's a tougher task over there. So don't be offended week 1. I will tell you this, to Oklahoma fans' credits, Brandon, a lot of them have said, and we're going to talk Oklahoma State after the break, but Oklahoma fans have said, I'm hesitant. It's going to be a tough task. It's going to. I haven't heard a lot. Now I haven't been to many trailer parks. I've not been to Dibble
recently.
That's what I'm saying. To get the feedback.
Right.
I haven't been to Medill. All right, I haven't asked the mayor of Medill how I don't even know who that is, but how the Sooners are going to do in the SEC. So I don't know that I'm getting a good broad scope of Oklahoma fans, but the people I know, for the most part, have taken kind of a cautious tone when talking about the Sooners. And by the way, with the minute that you do tell me, oh, Oklahoma, I'm gonna bet $500 on them, they're gonna win for sure. I know you're an idiot, so don't do that. Don't tell me that. I understand you love the Sooners. I understand that you're a huge fan, but don't talk to me in real terms that they're going to move into this conference just because you've been a fan of them since you were 2, that they're going to win the national title and win the SEC. Wait and see is the most healthy approach for sure. Do I think there's some value at 27-1? 100%.
Absolutely.
And we're going to take a break in a minute. And it might be, Brandon, that's the best you're ever going to get an Oklahoma team in the SEC.
At 30-1, yeah.
For all the unknowns, all the things we're talking about, people just don't know. That's not going to happen every year. This time next year, we're going to have seen Oklahoma run through the SEC schedule, and we're going to see how that went. And if it goes well, you're never going to see OU at 27-1 again unless things really change. So that's why I'm excited. That's why there's some opportunity to make money earlier in the year, why we're doing this show earlier than we normally do. Also, why you should go to fatjacksports.com and get signed up, because I don't hold this information for myself. Anything I'm going to do, I give to you as a client. So when I lay out how I'm going to play Utah and how I'm going to do some of these teams and take advantage of year one in these different conferences, you're also going to get those plays. You're going to be walked through how to make money with those plays later in the season. I will take you across the finish line and build your bankroll with the exact games I'm going to be betting and Brandon's going to be betting. And hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients around the country are going to be betting. You're going to have the opportunity to get those exact plays, which you can't say with almost any other service, any other gambler. Billy Walters not giving out his picks to everybody. That's what sets me apart. All right, I give you the exact games I'm going to play. Not different underdog lock of the whatever, not inside whatever, not the SEC play of the no, none of that. You're getting the games I'm playing, the games that I know are going to make me money, and if they're going to make me money, I'm going to help you make money with those exact plays. Go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up today, and start winning.
This is Brandon Rush from the Fat Jack Sports Service. If you want to stay in touch with everything related to the Fat Jack, follow us on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it. We are there at Fat Jack Sports. You can also watch the Fat Jack Sports Hour on YouTube every week. Get free winners and tips on how to become a better sports bettor. Plus, see Jack's appearances on the nationally syndicated TV show Beat the Odds. Stay connected with the Fat Jack Sports Service at Fat Jack Sports on all the socials and on YouTube.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour, and for the final time today, here is our host sprinkling your summer with winners. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you, Brandon, so much. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 3. Only 5 minutes left in the show. This thing's gone quick. I knew it would. There's so much stuff, and we spent the first 7 or 8 minutes upsetting everybody that was new to the show. I hope if you're out there listening, come join us next week. As we get into the season, we'll talk a lot more sports. It'll be a lot less getting people signed up, but it's important right now because guys that sign up for the season, they win. They do the best every year. It's not even close. If you wait until after September, October, you're building yourself a hole that then we have to get you out of. It takes longer. It's a whole thing. So getting on board right now at fatjacksports.com, absolutely the way to go. I know new people are out there like, I don't gamble on nothing. I don't even care. Where's the sports animal? All that. I get it. But just stick with us. We're going to get you a lot of information that, you'll, if nothing else, you'll be able to talk to your buddies about and say, hey, I heard this guy that thinks he knows what he's talking about on the radio talk about my team. So let's look at the Big 12 real quick. We didn't talk at all about player prop packages that are coming here in the coming week. So we'll talk about that next week in the NFL show for sure, because that's an NFL-driven thing. I've given those for free over the last couple of years. They've hit about 80%. I mean, stupid results. We're going to have a package for that, actually about 3 packages for that, either monthly or seasonal for sure. They're going to be a lot less money than people pay for the picks, but they're going to they're a supplement. So they're going to get you into more profit this year, especially on Sundays with this player prop package I'm going to roll out here in the next couple weeks. Just a way to make guys more money with information that I'm getting anyway. I have guys that are really good at this stuff, and that's the stuff. You go look at the results for Super Bowl and the conferences championships the last couple years. You'll see. 2 years ago, I think we went 12-1. I mean, just ran through it. This last year, we made 4 or 5, actually more than that, about 6 games of profit, not counting the Super Bowl, which we made even more. So we're going to take that profit, apply it to the season, let guys make a little more money with the additional package that'll be coming up here in the next couple weeks. Look at the Big 12. Utah to win, Brandon. Kansas State, 3.5 to 1 to win. Oklahoma State, 8.5 to 1. Thought it was interesting, that pretty good sized drop off between Utah and Kansas State, down to almost double digits with OSU. Central Florida also 8.5 to 1. Kansas 9.5 to 1. How quickly we forget. This team seems like it's going the right way. Not getting a lot of love within the Big 12. Iowa State 11 to 1. Then Arizona, Texas Tech, West Virginia, TCU, who at times have put together some good seasons. How about the Colorado Buffaloes? Deion Sanders and company. We had them winning the title last year after a game or two. They have fallen down. They are 25 to 1 just to win the Big 12. So initial thoughts of that group after that: Cincinnati, Baylor, Houston, Arizona, BYU at the very bottom. BYU not expecting a lot of comeback from those 40-year-old white dudes up there. So what do you think about this as a conference? What do you think? What jumps out at you?
Arizona, I think, is getting slighted. That is a team which I think has done a lot of good things especially towards the end of the year last year. And to be the number 6, 7, 8 pick, depending on which sportsbook you're looking at, to win the conference, to me feels a bit slighted. Also, say what you will about Colorado. They have 2 dudes who are probably going to be top 5, top 7 picks in the NFL. They should be better than 30 to 1, but it may just be a case of them just being just those 2 guys and whoever Deion found.
Yeah, I'm getting 25 to 1 FanDuel, and that does bring me to another point. We'll talk about this more next week. If you're in a state that has multiple sports books,
oh boy,
it will behoove you to get multiple accounts. Now, don't go out and fire out all, but shopping lines, and we will talk about more of this next week and the week after. Shopping lines is very important. There's 3 things I would tell you this time of year that you should be, 4 things that you should be really cognizant of. Number 1, bankroll. Make sure you have enough bankroll to absorb a week or two where you didn't win 4, 5, 6 games of profit. With me, we rarely have losing weeks at the start. But if we do, you don't want to be digging in and re-upping with your sports books. That's number 1. Number 2, don't play parlays. That's the other thing. Don't play parlays. More specifically, don't ever play parlays that the sports book has offered you that they've put together. All right, it's all about percentage of wins. So if your sports book is putting you together parlays, they are not going to pay you back as much on that parlay as you should be paid on a parlay, which is always a losing proposition. Parlays are like playing the lottery or slot machines. You don't get the return that you should based on what you're having to risk. Number 3, if a prop bet does not have 2 sides, by the way, thank you, Mathis Rother. My chair broke again. Great job. But if a prop does not have 2 sides, meaning if they have every prop you need to bet, whether it's a team or a player, it needs to have 2 sides. So it's not, will Patrick Mahomes have 385 yards today? You can only bet yes. That is not a prop bet. That is not a good bet. That is an advertisement marketing tool to get you to put money on something that has a bad return. Always make sure your bets have an upside and a downside. You should be able to bet either one. That's number 3. Number 4 is shop lines. Make sure that you are, because as Brandon's talking about, he's looking off a sports book where he is in Louisville that I'm sure is offered the same place that FanDuel is. FanDuel, if I'm going to bet, what are you getting on Arizona to win the Big 12, Brandon?
10 to 1.
10 to 1 to win the Big 12. I'm getting 12 to 1. So if you're going to bet Arizona, not so much because you think they can win the Big 12, but because you want hedging opportunities later in the year, if possible, that 2 extra units of profit that I'm going to get at FanDuel might be valuable. So shop lines, and they're always going to be different, not only based on the state, but based on whoever's betting in those spots. So be smarter with your money. Make sure that you're a good steward of your money, even though you're doing something that seems like it'd be a lot of fun. So those are just some wrap-up things. We're going to touch a lot more on those as we go forward into the next couple of weeks of the show. Brandon, long shot, you like Arizona to win. That's your long shot. You think they're being slided. Is that your pick to win the Big 12?
No, I'm with you on Utah to win the Big 12, but Arizona would sort of be that next tier team that I would at least entertain at a good number.
And Utah's a good example of why we're not going to bet most of these teams to win their conferences if they're in major conferences, because we're going to get a ton better money. We're getting 70-1 for Utah to win the national championship. We're getting 3-1 for them to win the Big 12. We don't need them to win the Big 12. We don't even, maybe Big 12 gets 2 teams and we don't even need to win. We just need to be in the top 2 or so. We don't want to waste our money there. We're not going to tie it up all year long at 3-1. We're going to tie it up all year long at 70-1, where then we don't need them to win the national title. We just need them in the tournament so that we can hedge out of them. Final thoughts, Brandon?
I'm just excited for year 21 with the service and the fact that, like we said at the very beginning of the show, it feels like we just left. So it's going to be really quick for us to just get back up on the horse, get riding, and carry off and profit.
Not every year is created equal. This is a super exciting year, not only from a spectator standpoint, but from a gambling standpoint. If you know what you're doing, it is going to be a feast, a great, great year. I've not been this excited in years and years. Join us at fatjacksports.com. Don't drink and drive. Wager responsibly, guys. Have money management, all those things. It's really important to establish those right now. If you have a gambling problem, go to gamblersanonymous.org and get that taken care of. Until next week, for Brandon and the Fat Jack, this has been your college preview show of the Fat Jack Sports Hour.